I say that the moment when you blocked Davis from behind seemed kind of like a turning point in the game last night, just in or maybe a slam the door moment. What did you feel out there, and did you get that sense as well?
I mean, just trying to make game-winning plays. Just trying to do all the little things to edge out the win at the end of the day. It was a great block, a great play, but I think we made a whole bunch of great plays throughout the game to give us the gap that we had at the end.
You were in position, in that situation, and a couple others to get some blocks. We see that sometimes when a guy can come in from behind and block a sure thing dunk. What role are you in that play, and what are you supposed to be doing that allows you to actually be in that spot to make that play?
Yeah, so since the drive was on the opposite side and dumped down, that was me supposed to be there for the low man. It happened really fast, but fortunate enough I was able to get there quick enough to get the block, get off the ground before he did.
Obviously, you've taken a lot of charges this year as well. When it comes to being able to rim protect, how nice is it to also be able to go up and get a block too, not necessarily have to fall on the floor?
That was like the cherry on top, you know what I mean? Not have to take a charge, not have to fall and hit the floor, just get a block. It's fun. It's a lot better staying on my feet.
Right. What does that feel like when this happened a number of times now since you've been here? You hit the three that forces the other team to call a timeout, and everybody rushes back to the benches. What's that moment like for you, especially here at home?
Energizing. I think it gives a chance for the fans really to get into it. It's energizing for us players, getting ready for the next possession. But during the flow of the game, we're just out there making plays, and it's fortunate enough that we get the play that forces the other team to make a timeout. I think it's energizing for us, and it just takes the life out of the other team.
Isaiah, this team has talked a lot about concerted efforts on the glass, helping Chet out, and you specifically were kind of flying around. Dort was flying around on the O glass. Just for you, what went into yesterday's effort on the glass, kind of flying around, being in spaces where Chet couldn't be?
Just trying to bring energy and find rebounds, like you said, where Chet couldn't get the rebounds. I think we had Lou is probably one of our best right now, just flying around and getting rebounds, and just seeing that it's kind of contagious. So just being out there trying to help Chet and the rest of our bigs to get extra rebounds, just being in the right spot at the right time. I think that's just stuff to help us win.
I've asked you about this a few times already, but your defense continues to seems like it continues to get better. What's been the key for you on that end of the floor to gradually get better game by game?
Yeah, just taking it upon myself to just have the pride to get defensive stops. Just being focused on the game plan. We put together a great game plan every single time. Just going out there and executing and staying true to it.
And then you're not seen as a guy that's just a three-point shooter. What's it been like for you to get the recognition of I'm a complete basketball player now?
I mean, it's the same old for me. Just because they're just not recognized, don't mean I didn't recognize. I know who I am. My teammates know who I am, and so just staying true to who I am and keep going from there.
Your threes are not falling like the way you want it to be, and then if that happens, and do you motivate to do more those little things defensively?
Yeah, your offense is not always going, so you have to find other ways to win games, other ways to stay on the floor. And I just feel like just doing the little things like taking charges, helping out with rebounding, being in the right spot at the right time on defense to get steals or whatnot, and deflections. Those are just things to help teams win. We're not going to always have a great shooting night. We didn't have a great shooting night yesterday, and we're able to have a large gap at the end of the game, and that was just stacking small plays and all the little things.
Arkansas got a big win over Duke the other day. Do you remember a game like that in your career where it just sticks out to you how great the atmosphere was, how great the win was?
Man, Arkansas as a whole, we just have a great atmosphere, throughout. Let's see, a specific game for me, I don't know if I could pinpoint one game, but, just being able to play in front of those fans, they're amazing. They're real passionate. They bring a lot of energy, and it helps us throughout the games. Yeah, that was definitely a big win, though. I was locked in.
Coach, just after going back, looking at the film, what stood out the most in terms of how you all were able to shift the game after being down by as many as 14 points and really taking control of the game there?
Just reiterating what I said after the game, which is I thought it was an energy game for us. I thought, we got out and ran in transition. We did a great job on the offensive glass, sending guys, K-Rich, Lou, Kaysen in particular, those guys were really crashing last night. We did a great job at the rim. And I think one thing that gets lost in that is it wasn't a great shooting game for us. We generated great shots, only shot 34% on the great shots we got, which is a low number for us. And yet we were able to build a pretty strong lead against a good team because of all the other stuff, and a lot of it was just effort and work.
Yeah, you had mentioned the improvement on the offensive glass, and you mentioned Case and Lou. Was that just sending them that allowed them to kind of get those opportunities, or are you starting to see them kind of hunt and sniff out some opportunities now?
I mean, the biggest thing is going, the effort to go. And if we're like sprinting back in transition, then that's a reason not to go. But if we're just watching the ball, we got to do one or the other. And like I said, at the beginning of the season, I just thought we got off to a slow start with that. We happened to be shooting the ball very well at that time, so it really didn't seem like a big deal. But as we know, there's a lot of variance in shooting, but there doesn't have to be variance in your effort to go to the glass. And I think that's really upticked here the last 8 to 10 games.
Mark, you talked yesterday about Shea kind of having that ability, unlike maybe some other stars, to stay within the team nucleus and not separate himself. With all that he's doing, with all that he does, and with traits like that, what do you feel like is the next step for him?
I think with all those guys, first of all, he's not a perfect player. He fouled Reeves on a jump shot last night. He fouled the guy in the shell the other night. I thought he mismanaged a clock situation last night. Like, he's got plenty he can work on. But when you get to his level and you've got his experience level, it becomes more about refinement. And it's more nuanced. The large jumps are probably over because it's hard to make large jumps from the level he's at. Now it's about working on his craft, which, I've got ultimate confidence. We all have ultimate confidence he's going to do because he's just such a relentless worker and he's got such sharp vision for himself. So that's really the next step, is just, touching up the edges continuously and continuing to learn and grow. And that's one of his best qualities. He's got a growth mindset.
And you and him talk about that phrase "invisible work" a lot. Just from your point of view with him, what does that look like off the time when we're not around?
I don't know. I don't see it. It's invisible. It shows up in the games, though, doesn't it?
Mark, we keep saying, and it's true to an extent, and it's obviously going to be true to an extent, that Kaysen is not going to shoot at this level the way he has shot. But what is it? He seems to only take really excellent shots at this point. Is that what's happened here? And what has struck you about his shooting?
Well, he lets the game tell him what to do. It's kind of like, it's the same. I said yesterday, you guys were asking about Dub before the game. I said the hardest balance is that balance between aggression and confidence and functionality. And like Dub, Kaysen tends to lean towards functionality. And so one of the things we can do to help him is encourage him to be more aggressive. In fact, I just got with him, I think it might have been yesterday or the day before, but it was before yesterday's game, kind of trying to nudge him more with driving, to be less timid on the drives and try to hit the paint. And if you don't have a layup or you don't have a scoring play, there's solutions for that. You can nash it, you can get onto 2 feet. But he found a couple of those last night. He rifled one off the backboard, and then another one he finished, and another one he kind of made a good kick out. So we're willing to live with some of the mistakes of aggression because he's got to improve from here. We don't want to box him into being a narrow player, but he's gotten off to a very predictable start. And what allows us to have confidence to nudge him in that direction is how consistently he competes. We're very confident putting him on the court every night because he competes at a high level night after night. And now it's a matter of stretching him a little bit. So if there's a little bit of offensive regression by the numbers, that's probably not a bad thing because it means he's stretching, and it's something we're encouraging him to do.
Yeah, I think against Philly, he probably had a not great jump shot, but it was late enough in the clock that he probably should have taken it. He kind of moved the ball. Is that a situation where he's got to be just more aware of, hey, the shot matters more than the quality, the clock matters more than the quality of that shot?
For sure, or the first possession of the game. I mean, we ran a play, they got jumbled up on a switch with Chet, ball got thrown to him on the right wing, Embiid was a mile off him, and he didn't shoot it. It's like, he's got to shoot that ball, because we're just not going to get a higher quality shot than that. If you don't shoot that, you have to regenerate another advantage up against the shot clock. It's very difficult to do that, and that's certainly not a sustainable strategy. So learning experience for him, but he's got to be more aggressive. And like I said, if his numbers tick down a little bit, we're less concerned with his raw numbers 20 games into his career. It's more about encouraging him to grow, and there's more in there offensively.
Kind of a follow-up on Kaysen. Seems like he's always in the right spot, and you guys aren't using him as a primary ball creator. much this year. How much of that do you think is him playing point guard and knowing, like, having a point guard's mind is like, if I was in that spot, I would want the guy to be there, and so that when Shea or Josh drives, I need to be in this spot.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. You can ask him. He might be able to answer that. It's like the quarterbacks that move to wide receiver. You know, those guys are all really good wide receivers because they've played the position. That's kind of what you're saying. Maybe. I also just think he's got really good basketball instincts.
And then 26 fast break points last night.
Yeah.
Seemed like it was a concerted effort to try to push the pace. Was that the case?
Yeah, and we got some stops, and we rebounded over 85% of the balls that they missed last night. So that helps you get out and run. But yeah, I mean, we knew they were on a second night of a back-to-back. They're down some guys. It was the end of a road trip. We wanted to get into their legs, and we wanted to use energy to get into the game. But it's easy to say that. It's hard to do. And to the credit of our guys, we put the work in and exerted ourselves on the game last night.
There's a clip going around on social media of Chet kind of backing down AD, didn't want to turn around fadeaway, I guess. There's a lot of comparisons to Kevin Durant. I think those comparisons are pretty obvious. Can you talk about what separates him and what makes him different from KD this early in his career?
I don't know. I wasn't with the Thunder when Durant was a young player, so I don't really have a great comparison. I think every player is different. He's a different player than Durant and everybody else. He's on his own path. He's obviously on a really good path. He's on a great trajectory. This is what he looks like, really having no idea what he's doing in the NBA yet, relative to where he'll be a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. So he's on a great trajectory, but he's on his own trajectory, and we try to treat all our players as their own unique.
Based on right now, KD's game right now, Chet's game right now, what is the biggest difference?
Experience. Kevin Durant's played 15 years in the NBA. He's seen every picture. He's played multiple opponents. He's been guarded every way. He's played in every situation. And we're talking about a guy that was just hatched in the NBA. And so that's the biggest difference between Chet and any player that's a veteran player. Just because he's productive doesn't mean that he's not a developmental player. Doesn't mean he doesn't have a long runway. And we, as an organization and as a team, have to have the discipline to see him like that, because that's the only way he's going to improve.
Mark, how have you felt that you guys have executed fast breaks this year? It seems like your 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s, those types of situations, you guys have gotten good stuff every time.
Yeah, bad in Minnesota. Minnesota was a relapse. But other than that, pretty good. It was a point of emphasis coming out of last year. Over the summer, when we looked at areas where we could improve as a team and areas that needed more prioritization, we were putting ourselves in those situations and not converting enough. So we looked pretty closely at that and tried to weave that into training camp. And the guys have done a good job of that, and I think we've, for the most part, generated really good shots. And I thought, kind of like I talked about with the zone the other night, one of our points of emphasis coming out of Minnesota was there were 5 possessions where a Minnesota player was on the floor and we were breaking out, and there were 3 of them where they reset their defense, and we shouldn't be 5-on-4 allowing a team to reset their defense. So I thought we were better last night. We were on the gas, we shared it, found the open guy, and we were able to keep that advantage when we were able to get it.
Lindy seems like playing more than compared to a Trey or Kaku. What do you see in him for you to play him more compared to other people? Players?
I mean, the first thing I'll say, and the players hopefully know this, I've expressed this to the players, but we have a roster up and down of players that I trust putting in the game. We have a roster up and down of players that I trust closing games and playing long minutes in games. That's one of the benefits of having a deep roster, some continuity. And so when I'm playing one person, it's not an indictment on the people I'm not playing. It's just what I think is the best decision for the team. And I would relate that to really any decision that I make with personnel. But Lindy in particular is a highly functional system player on both ends of the floor. He's very predictable. The scoreboard seems to move in the right direction when he's out there. He's extremely additive as a mover, ball mover, floor spacer, and he does the job defensively. And he's done that consistently over time. And the thing I respect most about him, similar to some of the other guys that are kind of like punching bags as it relates to their role, is you can not play him for 2 weeks and then put him out there, and you know exactly what you're getting, and that's a testament to his readiness and professionalism.
Bertans had a contract change yesterday. Seems like it gives you guys an opportunity to play him a little bit more. Is that the case, or is it just going to be the same status quo?
The contract's between him and Sam, to be honest with you, and it has not had any bearing on what I've done to this point. I've done what's best for the team, regardless of anybody's contract.
We've
This
talked.
second straight game where, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
This second straight game where you're going to play a team on the second night of a back-to-back, and it's kind of trickier to predict who's going to play in that scenario. Does that make scouting or anything tougher in these scenarios?
Not really. Like they may play some more guys or different guys or whatever, but our scouting reports start at the top. And Doncic will be out there, and Irving will be out there, and we're going to start there. And as far as the other guys, we respect them, but it's a prioritization thing, and we're going to prioritize the Plan A players on the other team, and we'll be ready for them.
We've seen Isaiah take a lot of charges, but have you seen him block shots the way that he did the other night?
No. I mean, he's in the middle of everything. He's always in the fray. Great competitor. You guys when we talk about his shooting, I always drive back to that. He's a complete player, and I think the rebounding, the athleticism. I mean, he's a sneaky athlete. He's a complete player, really good basketball player.
Dub said last night that you can tell that teams are taking you guys more serious. Is that an assessment that you agree with, or is it just everything seem the same?
I think we gained some respect from the league last year. I'd be lying if I didn't say that. I thought last year we were a team that we needed to earn respect from the rest of the league, from the NBA, from our opponents. We didn't shy away from admitting that. And to the players' credit, that was a challenge that we took head on. And handled pretty well. I think we proved last season, and even the seasons before, like if you don't show up against us, we're going to show up. And now we're to the point, obviously, where I think everybody's identified us as a team that you're going to have to go beat, and that's what we want to be. We want to be a good team that you have to beat us to get a win against us, and our guys have embraced that. But not only this year. I mean, they've embraced that for a long time, even before the wins were where they are, at least 18 games into the season for us.
It seemed like yesterday was one of Giddey's better games recently. I was just wondering if you agree with that assessment, the way they did differently.
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
It seemed like yesterday was one of Giddey's better games recently. I was just wondering if you agree with that assessment of what he did differently.
I'd be careful to judge like the shooting. He made a couple threes. He got some points on low shot attempts yesterday. I'd be careful to make that assumption. There's a lot of invisible stuff that goes into the game that all of our players do, but that Josh has done. I mean, there's a reason we have him out there on the court, and he's done that well this year in a lot of games. So I wouldn't say yesterday was like crazy better than other ones.